This past weekend in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, something happened that had never happened before in the history of competitive Pokemon. Fearow, yes, that Fearow, just won a competitive Pokemon Go tournament. My name is Homeslice Henry. I am one of the official casters for the Pokemon Go Championship Series. And this past weekend, I had the privilege of being in Milwaukee, live in person, to help commentate the rise of Fearow to the top of the Pokemon Go world. Now, why is Fearow suddenly winning tournaments? Well, Fearow this season got a big buff, as it got access to Peck, a fast move that got a massive buff. Peck now has the exact same parameters as Shadow Claw, giving Fearow really consistent fast move pressure, combining that with its high attack stat, and really nice energy generation. Add to that the fact that Fearow now learns Drill Peck, a very strong flying type charge attack. Add to that Fearow's existing charge attack of Drill Run, and it feels like Fearow has coverage for everything. And honestly, it does. In this meta, it can hit almost every single Pokemon you can encounter for at least neutral damage, with one exception, and that is Corviknight. Now, the trainer who won this tournament, their in-game name is Meteor Fallion, and this is their team. Meteor Fallion ran Blastoise, Galarian Corsola, Shadow Marowak, Bastiodon, Fearow, and Credilli. And I'm going to be showcasing some selected matches from Meteor Fallion's climb to the top, showcasing the power of Fearow in this meta. Meteor Fallion's first streamed match of day number 1 was the Group C Winners Finals against Flying Pizza. Flying Pizza was running an interesting team: Tinkaton, Galarian Moltres, Feraligatr, Shadow Marowak, Credilli, and Galarian Corsola. And there's a lot of targets for Fearow here. Fearow is going to do great into Feraligatr, it's going to beat Corsola, it's going to beat the Marowak, it has Drill Run for the Tinkaton. So across the board, Fearow has a lot of targets, but unfortunately does not find them in game number 1, as it leads into its worst matchup on Flying Pizza's team, the Credilli. Why the Credilli matchup is so unfortunate is Credilli is able to hit for big super effective damage with Rock Tomb, and Rock Tomb applies a guaranteed attack drop. Fearow going to immediately put up the shield, but the Drill Peck landing means that this Credilli is already quite low. Meteor Fallion is running a team that is triple weak to that Credilli. Fearow not going to go for the charge attack priority tie this time, instead looking to throw one before, so that way he will have the ability to switch out if he needs to. There is the catch onto the Blastoise. The rollout goes through as well, and that's great for Meteor Fallion, saving a lot of health on that Fearow and resetting that attack drop. Out comes the Marowak, choosing to save that Feraligatr for the end game. Marowak, even though this Hydro Cannon is going to be one stage debuffed, it's still super effective damage, so Marowak will put up the shield. But Marowak realizes it cannot farm down. It throws the Bone Club to pressure Meteor Fallion to give up that final shield. Meteor Fallion decides to invest in the Blastoise. This Hydro Cannon will fall short of taking the knockout, but it's still going to do quite a lot of damage. Switch timers up cannot send the Fearow into what would have been a loaded Rock Slide, so the Marowak has to be brought out onto the field. Marowak takes the Bone Club, out comes Feraligatr, and this endgame is actually going to be extremely tricky. If Flying Pizza throws the Hydro Cannon to knock out the Marowak, then Fearow gets to farm it down and sweep. So Flying Pizza has to try and get as low as he possibly can, but that lets the Marowak get to another move. So he was trying really hard to not give the Fearow farm, but unfortunately, he just gets fully KO'd by the Marowak. And now, Meteor Fallion, the switch timer will be up. We'll get to bring back in the Fearow. In comes the Fearow, answered with Credilli. Credilli will not get to the Rock Tomb, and that is going to be game over. Fearow flying high, taking a knockout. In comes the Marowak. Marowak gets farmed down as well, and Meteor Fallion takes the game 1 win. Hopping into game number 2, and unfortunately the leads are the same. Meteor Fallion was hoping that the Fearow would find any other matchup, but once again, it's stuck going up against Credilli. An adjustment in strategy from Meteor Fallion, as the Galarian Corsola is now in the back. Fearow farms up, sends in the Corsola. There's not a clear answer for Flying Pizza. Flying Pizza could have looked to send in the Feraligatr, but Feraligatr down energy, Corsola can actually make the zeros exceedingly uncomfortable. So instead, gonna opt to stay in, fire off the Rock Tomb to debuff the Corsola, and then bring in the Feraligatr. But this honestly works out very nicely for Meteor Fallion, because Meteor Fallion would always rather have the Credilli energy land anywhere else than that Fearow. Feraligatr, Hydro Cannon, hoping it will be enough to take the knockout, and it does. Down goes Corsola, and back in comes the Fearow. Fearow Can it survive this Hydro Cannon? Fearow, not the bulkiest Pokemon. Fearow, no shields. That's big damage. Fearow not wanting to risk taking any additional damage, just needing the Feraligatr off the field. Feraligatr gets knocked out by the Drill Peck, and now it's Marowak time. In comes Tinkaton, and that's going to be a problem for Flying Pizza. Flying Pizza trying to get to the Rock Tomb. He's shaking his head because he knows this Marowak is about to sweep. Bone Club gets the shield. It's a charge attack priority tie. This is always going to be the Rock Tomb bait from the Credilli because he needs that attack drop. But even with the attack drop, Meteor Fallion is nodding. He knows this is his game to win. In comes the Tinkaton, and Tinkaton can't really do much of anything here as Bone Club, even at -1, will still do far too much damage. This is actually a heavy slam Tinkaton. He switches into the Fearow just to reset the attack debuff, and now back in comes the Tinkaton, but he's still outside of play rough range. So even by switching out and giving all this farm to the Tinkaton, there's still not danger because play rough will not be enough to take the knockout. It's going to get a little bit close, but Marowak will be able to hang on. It actually got a little bit closer than I was thinking, but Meteor Fallion advances to day number 2. His first opponent in day number 2 is BJ Pawat, a trainer who was previously the back-to-back Thailand Invitational champion. BJ Pawat's team consists of Florges, Galarian Moltres, Shadow Scizor, Diggersby, Galarian Corsola, and Blastoise. The trainers lock in for game number 1, and it's a great lead for Fearow, leading into the Galarian Corsola. A safe switch into Blastoise, unanswered by Meteor Fallion, as Meteor Fallion will chip with the Drill Peck, and then look to send in the Corsola to get a catch and sneak as the Astonish goes through, as Corsola will catch the Hydro Cannon that was aimed at Fearow. This is an amazing spot to be as the Corsola, because Corsola can absorb Hydro Cannon after Hydro Cannon and just look to farm down. Corsola's energy is incredibly threatening into BJ Pawat's team because he did not bring that Diggersby. He's hoping the switch timer comes up, but it does not, and now he's going to bring in his own Corsola. BJ Pawat has to hope that the next Astonish that goes through picks up the knockout. Nightshade is going to land. The Astonish does not KO the Galarian Corsola for Meteor Fallion, barely hanging on, making one final Nightshade. And just like that, Corsola has basically KO'd this entire team. In comes Fearow, just missing out on that knockout. The Corsola now for BJ Pawat surviving on 1 HP to make the Power Gem. And in the back is Shadow Scizor. Scizor going to immediately have to give up its shield advantage to this Drill Peck. And then it's Shadow Marowak time. The one thing that Scizor cannot shield is fast attack pressure, and that's what's going to win the game for Meteor Fallion. BJ Pawat's only win con is a Night Slash boost right here. Night Slash does not get the 2-stage attack boost, and that is going to seal BJ Pawat's fate, as the Scizor is just much too low. One peck from this Fearow should be able to take the knockout onto the Scizor, and one peck should be able to knock out the Galarian Corsola as well, and Meteor Fallion is going to take the win. The next match we'll be taking a look at is from the winners semifinals, Dapper Discs versus Meteor Fallion. Dapper Discs has built a very interesting team centered around Murkrow. Murkrow, another very glassy flying type, and it's going to be supported with the double ground types, Gastrodon and Unova Stunfisk, and to round out the team, Wigglytuff, Empoleon, and a non-Shadow Dusknoir. In this tournament, Dusknoir also performed incredibly well, typically as the Shadow version. But by having Dusknoir, that's a Pokemon that Fearow is going to be able to target. The leads are set for game number 1, and it's a very bad lead for Meteor Fallion, leading Marowak into Murkrow. Safe switch into Blastoise, and Dapper Discs decides to stay in this matchup and fire off the Drill Peck. Drill Peck into the Blastoise is going to be no-shielded, and Dapper Discs makes the read that Empoleon will be valuable in the back. So Dapper Discs is calling that Empoleon will be the key to victory. Empoleon completely walls Blastoise, so it would have been the obvious choice to bring in there, but Dapper is making the read. Is my opponent trying to bait out the Empoleon? Dapper says yes. Dapper decides to go for the full farm down, surrendering a shield to do so, but this is where the limitations of the non-Shadow Dusknoir unfortunately loom large, because the non-Shadow Dusknoir just does not have the same damage output. Even though Dusknoir made a Shadow Punch into a Dynamic Punch, the fact that it's not Shadow means that Marowak will barely hang on. Marowak banks a Rock Slide, in comes Fearow. Fearow cannot quite get the farm down, Dapper Discs unfortunately realizes he saved the Empoleon, maybe predicting a Credilli in the back, but it's not a Credilli. Instead, it's a Fearow, and Fearow can hit for big, super effective damage with Drill Run. Fearow does still have 2 shields to hide behind. Meteor Fallion puts up the first shield here. The Murkrow has such a high attack stat. Meteor Fallion with a miscount, and unfortunately plays to a CMP tie that he does not win. Meteor Fallion misremembering the energy by 1, and that's gonna mean that even with an undercharge, the Murkrow still gets knocked out, and the Fearow is not gonna have a lot of energy. Empoleon should reach the Hydro Cannon at the same time as Fearow reaches the Drill Run. In comes the Empoleon. It's going to be a race to the move. There's the switch into the Marowak, and that catch should set up Meteor Fallion for success, as long as Meteor Fallion can avoid a catch back. Back in comes the Fearow. There's the Drill Run. No catch from Dapper. Dapper shaking his head. He thought Meteor Fallion would overfarm even more. Drill Run lands. Empoleon gets farmed down, and Dapper Discs just gets overwhelmed by the Fearow, and he loses game number 1. Dapper was able to even the score in game number 2, and now we get back to the action in game number 3. It's a bad lead for Meteor Fallion. Corsola into the Murkrow. The safe switch Fearow is going to put up a shield on the Drill Peck, and out comes Empoleon. We know Empoleon is going to take massive Drill Run damage, so Fearow feels pretty safe going for a bait. Fearow, with the Drill Peck bait, does actually get the shield. Empoleon immediately returns fire with the Hydro Cannon, but Fearow does not want to let itself get knocked out. The switch clocks are misaligned. Fearow gonna look to farm up, go for the Drill Run, and after this, the switch clock will be up, so if Empoleon puts up the shield, Meteor Fallion will be able to save the Fearow. There's the switch into the Corsola, and now this puts Dapper in a very difficult spot. Switch timer not available, sends in the Murkrow, but Murkrow's getting outpaced due to the desync of the switch timers. Meteor Fallion is now able to take the knockout. Down goes Murkrow. There is so much energy loaded on that Empoleon, but this Corsola is still so healthy. Out comes Dusknoir, and Dusknoir, this is going to be another scenario where being non-shadow backfires. Shadow Punch is super effective, but it's not enough. Galarian Corsola hangs on, makes it to the Nightshade, and this Dusknoir is not going to be surviving. In comes the Empoleon. Quick switch into the Fearow. The Empoleon had all that loaded energy, and it's forced to use it here as it could not get a Metal Sound down on the Fearow. In comes Marowak. This is super effective damage, but this is the non-shadow Empoleon, and that means even though it's massive damage, Marowak hangs on, gets the farm down, and Meteor Fallion again, bringing the Fearow time and time again, is able to emerge victorious and will advance to Winners Finals. His Winners Finals opponent was going to be LW Josh. LW Josh's team was more of an old school team consisting of Clodsire, Azumarill, Galarian Moltres, Shadow Marowak, Credilli, and Galarian Corsola. So on paper, Blastoise is incredibly safe in this matchup. Blastoise has play against every single one of Josh's Pokemon, and additionally, the Fearow also looks very strong, as Fearow has very nice targets in the Corsola and that Marowak. We're going to join this series in game number 3. It's tied 1-1, and it's a very neutral lead. Clodsire for LW Josh into the Galarian Corsola for Meteor Fallion. Even though Clodsire's poison things are resisted, Clodsire gains the upper hand in the Zero Shield scenario, as back-to-back Earthquakes are typically able to deliver the knockout. The Fearow is once again in the back for Meteor Fallion. Meteor Fallion throughout this tournament run has relied on the Fearow and the coverage that it provides. Meteor Fallion has yet to play a Corviknight team on stream, and that means Fearow has yet to encounter a matchup where it is unable to hit for, at bare minimum, neutral damage. Nightshade from the Corsola is going to connect. That gets the Clodsire quite low. Clodsire returns fire with the Earthquake. The no shield from Meteor Fallion. Earthquake is going to land. Clodsire hangs on. In comes Fearow, and Fearow is going to be answered with Credilli. Fearow is up on energy, and that is definitely a help, as Fearow already has a pretty nice pacing advantage. Credilli puts up the shield, going to immediately go for the Rock Tomb, but Fearow is already most of the way to Drill Peck number 2. The energy advantage, very clutch in this matchup, and with every charge attack that gets thrown, the switch timer gets closer and closer to coming up. Critterly will feel very comfortable no shielding because this is a debuffed Drill Peck. Switch Clock coming up soon for Meteor Fallion, but not soon enough. A half second more, and the Fearow could have switched out and caught onto Corsola, but instead, the final Protect shield goes up. Now it's Josh looking to catch onto the Clodsire. Double Drill Peck is banked. In comes the Corsola. Corsola trying to farm down, but it's Clodsire that actually farms down. Clodsire exits with an Earthquake loaded. The Fearow cannot be brought in here. The energy is too important. Instead, it's Blastoise hitting the field. Blastoise will take some pretty sizable damage from the Earthquake, but the important thing, the Fearow energy remains intact in the back. There's still a full health Marowak and a Protect shield. Cradilly is going to get brought onto the field. Cradilly goes for the Grass Knot. Grass Knot, it's easily going to be knocking out the Blastoise. Blastoise can survive a Grass Knot from full health, but it already had to take the Earthquake. In comes Fearow. Fearow just gonna look to farm down. In comes the Marowak, and Josh knows he's in trouble as Fearow is looking to get to 3 Drill Pecks. Drill Peck is gonna land. There's Drill Peck number 2, and he won't even be able to make it to a Bone Club. That's how far ahead the Fearow is. The pacing, the energy management, and Fearow is running away with this game. Drill Peck number 3, knocking out the Marowak. All that's left in the back is the low health Cradilly, and Meteor Fallion is gonna win this game number 3. The next match we'll be taking a look at is from the Grand Finals Bracket Reset. This is Meteor Fallion versus Pranov, a best-of-5 series to determine who wins the championship. Pranov is running a team built around Murkrow. Supporting the Murkrow is double steel types with Fortress and Corviknight, and to round out the team, Galarian Corsola, Cradilly, and Unova Stunfisk. A note, Pranov's team is one of the only teams in the tournament without a Mudslapper. We join the action in game number 3, the series tied 1-1, and it's a perfect mirror lead, Cradilly into Cradilly. Both trainers have a flyer of choice in the back. There's the Fearow for Meteor Fallion, but there's its worst nightmare in Corviknight lurking in the back for Pranov. Rock Tomb is going to connect, and it appears Meteor Fallion wins charge attack priority in the mirror. And that is a big problem for Pranov, as you can guarantee switch advantage if you win charge attack priority because you're always applying your debuffs before your opponent can. Meteor Fallion again throwing instantly, not worried about a catch from Pranov. Pranov going to be no shielding, can return fire with the Rock Tomb, but we already see the big difference in the health bar. If you get to apply your Rock Tomb debuff first, the matchup is so much more comfortable. There's a switch out into the Fearow. Fearow going to be answered with the Corviknight, and for the first time, really, it feels like there is an answer to Fearow on the safe swap. If Fearow throws Drill Peck, it's resisted. If it throws Drill Run, it's resisted as well. The Air Cutter lands onto the Fearow. No boost comes through for Pranov. Drill Peck number 1 from the Fearow is going to connect. Corviknight not too worried about that damage. The one unfortunate thing for Corviknight in this matchup is the fact the Sand Attack is double resisted due to Fearow's flying typing. This means each Sand Attack only does 1 damage. Corviknight building up to the payback, baiting with the Air Cutter. Does Meteor Fallion call it? Meteor Fallion no shields, calling the Air Cutter, and that's massive, as now the next Air Cutter is thrown on charge attack priority. Pranov, head in his hands, he's shaking his head as the Drill Peck is going to land, and unfortunately he's stuck throwing the Air Cutter onto a very low health Pokemon. Air Cutter is going to connect. He's looking to send the Fortress, and in comes the Shadow Marowak. If Fortress throws a Sand Tomb, then it actually increases the Bug Bite damage. It gets a Bug Bite breakpoint, which means that you're going to notice the Bug Bites, which don't do a ton of damage right now, are suddenly about to ramp up and hit for incredible damage. He no shields because the first Sand Tomb is going to do the least amount of damage, but now he's never going to get a chance to shield. The Bug Bites are suddenly shredding through this Marowak, and Meteor Fallion has no way out. Pranov puts up the shield. He switches into Cradilly to reset that Bug Bite breakpoint, but all it does is just give farm to the Fortress. Back in comes the Marowak. Pranov knows the matchup. The moment the Sand Tomb gets reapplied, the Bug Bites suddenly become way more deadly. Marowak needs to hang on and make it to a move, but it does not get there, and Meteor Fallion is behind in the series. For game number 4, it's again a mirror lead. Galarian Corsola into Galarian Corsola this time. The Cradilly is in the back for Pranov, and right off the bat, that Cradilly looks unbelievable. Meteor Fallion has Blastoise. That takes super effective damage. The Fearow takes super effective damage. So for Meteor Fallion, this could be his last gasp. Nightshade is going to land onto the Corsola, aggressive pivot into Corviknight. Nightshade is wraithed, but Corviknight winning charge attack priority with the Air Cutter, and that's going to deny Meteor Folian's energy. For Meteor Folian, this ends up working out because now the Corviknight has taken a little bit of chip damage and it's completely energy dry. Now out comes the Blastoise. Blastoise, Hydro Cannon, shielded up by Pranav. Pranav going to try and connect with a hard-hitting Payback. He's farming up well past the Payback and he's baiting with the Air Cutter and the immediate bait call by Meteor Folian. Air Cutter does basically no damage, no boost comes through as well, and he decides that he needs to save the Corviknight. He brings in Credilli. Credilli immediately hit with the Hydro Cannon, and now that it's been chipped, out comes Fearow. And suddenly, this Fearow is a big problem. Fearow winning charge attack priority, and Pranav, he didn't realize because the Fearow had yet to be revealed that the Credilli was the win condition, but the bait call by Meteor Folian with the Blastoise has set him up for success as 2-shield Fearow is about to run away with this game. Fearow gets the full peck farm down. Back in comes the Corviknight. Corviknight does resist everything Fearow throws, but it's already taken quite a lot of damage from its fight with the Blastoise. Drill Peck is going to connect. There's the switch into the Blastoise, the catch of the Air Cutter, and the full rollout sneak, and Meteor Folian is feeling it. Air Cutter finally gets the boost. It had not gotten the boost up until this point. If at any point earlier it got the boost, this could have been a different game, but the boost comes too late. Blastoise going to be met now with the back-to-back Air Cutters, the shield from Meteor Folian. He's hoping that the Corviknight cannot make it, but Corviknight does make it. Corviknight will have to throw all of its energy here, and now it's going to be a race to the charge attack. Even with the boost, a boosted Air Cutter would not knock out. Fearow gets the Drill Peck, but Pranav makes the game-winning catch onto Corsola. Meteor Folian undercharges. That means the Drill Peck will not knock out. He gets 2 pecks of energy. Pranav needs the Payback. It's going to be a race, and he gets outpaced by 1 singular turn. The undercharge from Meteor Folian winning the game on the spot as Drill Peck knocks out Corviknight. After a back-and-forth series, these trainers are tied 2 games apiece. For the Milwaukee Regional Championship, they lock in one final time, and it's the battle of the Peck users, Murkrow versus Fearow. This is a very even matchup, but it will favor the Murkrow. Even though these Pokemon are using identical attacks, this matchup is going to come down to charge attack priority. Murkrow has the higher attack stat, and therefore, on the critical 3rd charge attack, once all shields are down, it's Murkrow who will be able to win that charge attack priority. So now Meteor Folian has to decide. He knows he will lose charge attack priority. Is it worth trying to catch? In back, he doesn't have a flying resistance. It's Galarian Corsola, and it's the Marowak. So it may honestly be worth, if Pranav shields, just staying in, getting knocked out, and going for a farm down, whether it's the Mudslap farm down or an Astonish farm down with the Galarian Corsola. Pranav goes for the foul play, covering for a catch in case there was a catch onto something like a Bastiodon. Foul play lands, taking the knockout, out comes Galarian Corsola, and Pranav has a decision to make for the tournament. Does he bring in Corviknight? He does bring in Corviknight, and with that, Pranav is set up to win this game. Corviknight will do great into the Galarian Corsola in the Zero Protect Shield scenario, and there's Credilli waiting for that Marowak in the back. Marowak not going to hit the field just yet, though. It's the Corsola that's going to have to take this super effective Payback. It will not be enough to knock out, but it does devastating damage. The Nightshade from the Corsola will fail to take the knockout as well. Both trainers can look to pivot out. There's the switch into the Marowak, answered with Credilli. Pranav banks the Air Cutter for later. The Zero Protect Shield scenario is very nice for the Credilli, as that means nothing is stopping this super effective Grass Knot from landing. The Bone Club will connect. Credilli over farming, going for the Grass Knot here. This is super effective damage into the Marowak. Can Marowak hang on? And it does. Marowak survives. Marowak immediately fires off the Bone Club, and suddenly there's worry from Pranav. This Bone Club will do a lot of damage. Can Credilli farm down? It's a simultaneous KO, and now it all comes down to this for the championship. Can Air Cutter knock out Corsola? He's full charging to the excellent. Air Cutter does not knock out, and on 1 HP, Meteor Folian is the Milwaukee Regional Champion. Watching these battles back, I cannot believe that this regional ended on such a narrow margin, coming down to quite literally 1 hit point remaining on the Galarian Corsola. To me, the most impressive Pokemon throughout the entirety of Meteor Foliant's run was the star of this video, the Fearow. There were so many different Pokemon that were now viable due to having the big rework to Peck. I don't really know if anyone expected Fearow to be the first one to take home a regional win. This is now 2 second place finishes for Murkrow, which is obviously an incredibly strong Pokemon. Togekiss has also had a second place finish as well. So we have a great variety of different flying types that are very strong in this meta. But to me, one stands a little bit above the rest. At the very least it did in Milwaukee, and that is Fearow. Fearow's flying ground coverage allowed it to be an absolutely invaluable tool in Meteor Foliant's arsenal, as Meteor Foliant was consistently able to weave it in and out of matchups, and in the matchups where there were no Corviknight, there was no resistance to both of its charge attacks, so it was guaranteed to always have value for its energy. And even in the matchup against the Corviknight, we saw it actually take a knockout onto a Corviknight to take a win. So I'm exceedingly impressed with Fearow. It's a Pokemon that they've given many updates to over the years, and it never really helped it get any increased viability. Well, the time is now, Pokemon Go trainers, because Fearow is meta. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Home Slice Henry, and this is More Slice Henry, my second channel where I make educational content and content related to the Pokemon Go Championship Series. If you enjoyed today's video, please do leave a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't, and I'll see you guys next time.